Motaz.
Hope you can hear me all right. Motaz!
Hey,
Am I pronouncing it correctly? Good morning,
yes.
Good evening. I was just saying, good afternoon. Good afternoon. I don't know if you have the questions that I sent you in front of you, but we're going to take the listeners on a journey, and maybe you could first explain where you are, and I believe there is a Canadian connection, so maybe you can mention that as well. But also, your background looks very interesting, so maybe you could also speak to that. How's that? So we'll start with your name and what you're about.
All right. So my name is Motaz Khalil. I'm originally Egyptian. I moved to Dubai from Canada over 10 years ago. I came here to do I came for a corporate job. The usual. My background is a graphic design.
Okay.
I worked a bit in fashion, but I came to Dubai, worked in this corporate world. As you know how it is, it's a bit boring, paying the bills. But art has been always in my blood. And,
well, I always say that boring part makes us less boring when we become less boring, because very often, I don't know if you find this, but people who are in the arts are always intrigued by the fact that, for me, I taught school for, 25 years and had to get up at 6:30 every morning and had to be there and had to be on. So it's, anyway, but I didn't mean to interrupt you. Continue, please.
Yeah. That's a short story where I'm from and I came here. The usual story that you hear, I'll be here for a year, I'll be here for 2, 10, 12 years later, you're still in the same place.
Yes.
But,
I know that feeling.
Back and forth between Dubai and Toronto. Toronto is always home. But then again, here.
Well, I'm sure you're glad it's not your home right at the moment because it's very cold. It is very cold here.
Well, I miss that. That's a
do you? Oh well.
Yeah, I do.
Just out of curiosity.
Tell me.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm just saying, you know how it is. When you're away from something, you miss it. When you're in it, you just say, why am I here?
Well, I call that the grass is greener on the other side syndrome. And you know why the grass is always greener on the other side? Because somebody bothered to water it. So I tell people, stop pissing on your own lawn. You know what I'm saying? Stop pissing on your own lawn.
That's true.
So tell us what's going on behind you, because that's beautiful. Some beautiful colors back there. So
this is what I did during lockdown.
Wow.
In the last year, as you see, it just goes. I'm just gonna keep turning and keep turning and keep turning, keep turning.
That's wonderful. There are a lot of envious people watching this right now that you have such a lovely space to work in which to work. How have you found that your corporate life has allowed you the latitude to pursue other interests? What are the advantages?
I do believe that everything we do in our life makes us who we are. So I cannot say that the corporate life was a waste of time, or I learned a lot. I learned a lot with dealing with people. I learned a lot with dealing with certain customers with their own look and feel and what they need. Sometimes it's boring because you cannot be as creative as you want to. But I think that challenge by itself teach you something. Teach you how to.
It's a discipline.
Adapt. Yes, it
right.
is, exactly.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you've had clients that are difficult as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I would think you would learn your way of handling that situation in a professional way, which is, I would think, bespeaks your corporate background. I know that's true from my background as an entrepreneur in the business world and having owned and sold businesses and all my life really, and then teaching in and out of classrooms. That's the beauty of teaching. I guess it's like corporate life, if they can find some place where you fit, you got the job. So anyway.
Sure, I agree.
So let's take people on the journey then. So when did the corporate Motaz start a bit of a dialogue with the creative Motaz?
Well, it's been always kind of trying to get out. Every once in a while, it just steps outside, smells the fresh air, and then goes back in. But then during that, maybe a few years back, I started, you know what, I need to. I was drawing and drawing and drawing, and I just said, why don't I start creating some clothing? Again, I'm not a fashion designer, but I said, I have this stuff that I do. Maybe I can do prints, maybe I can do fabric. And I started a small brand. And that got me excited, got me thinking of why don't I do this? Why should I stick to what I'm doing? Just to explain what I do in this corporate life that I was telling you.
Absolutely.
I work in event management and marketing. So that's I came here to this country. I was working in IT, marketing in IT, but then, and that's not my background at all, but this is where I ended. But then I got into events, and last event we had was January 2020. So and then it was the pandemic. Everyone was locked down, no gathering, nothing. And that period kind of gave me the chance to stay sane. I had to do something. And as you and I talked before about turning a negative to a positive, you had to see, what can I do? Well, how can I have a time now?
Absolutely. Well, precisely. And well, not just that, but how can you take advantage of the time? Because when did anyone have this time? I mean, I'm a lot older. I'm a lot older than you, and I don't recall any time having this time. And I can recall saying to myself, JP, don't squander this time in a self-isolation, because I realized it was just unprecedented. I know we use that word like we're throwing it around, but we've had so many unprecedented times here in the world that of late that it's hard to ignore. It's hard to ignore.
The last part, the network just froze.
Yes, I saw that just now. I was just saying that it's hard to ignore having that kind of time given to you and deciding what you're going to do with it. So. Exactly. I know you've pointed to the paintings. How is that a therapy, if you will, for getting through the time? I mean, just putting in time, because a lot of people put in time and they never move their ass off the couch and watch, and don't change the channel. So
well, this was the beginning. The beginning was trying to watch old things, the episodes, blah, blah. But then you come to a point, and then you realize that. I need to do something. And one day I just took a marker, and I went on.
Yeah, we'll just wait. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can hear me, we're just going to wait. I know it froze. Don't worry. It is what it is, and we're just going to ride it out. So never apologize.
No problem. So one day I just took a marker and I went to one of the pillars in the house and I just started drawing. And I do all of this cubism style, and I just started drawing and drawing and drawing. And that was it. The day after, it was a canvas. I just went to the back room, took some canvas and colors that I had there for a while. I haven't painted in a while. And as you see, like the one behind me was paper mache, just with glue. This one I was using Nespresso caps.
Oh, wow.
Took them up. I just started thinking out of the box. What else can I do? I took some masks and gloves and throw them on a canvas, glued them, and started doing something. It's just, for me, art was my therapist. It helped a lot. It got me out of, you came to a point that it was like a Groundhog Day. You go to bed and you know what's going to happen tomorrow. But with this, you wake up and you're interested, like, what else can I do? What else can I do? And I think that helped.
Right. And you're not concerned if you see your shadow or not, when you get up, because you have something to do.
To look forward to. That's
Exactly. So was there any kind of turning point or moment of angst in your life that brought you to this point in particular? Like, I mean, you just didn't pick up something about 12 months ago. You've been doing this, I'm assuming, all your life.
Yeah. The funny thing is, when I was a kid, my dad used to tell me the story that I used to tell him, I'm different. And he was like, what do you mean you're different? I just tell him, I'm different. And
Yeah.
then growing up, and I just wanted to study art. I wanted to draw. I wanted to sketch. And especially, I do cubism. Cubism, you know, you look at things, when you look at something, you just see it with your way, not with the
Yes.
way it's. And it's not the wrong way, it's the way of your own. You know what I mean? And that's how you show to people. But I
Hmm.
think I lost that part in the corporate world and doing what people want. But when you got the chance to discover yourself and do what you want, it just exploded. You know, JP, I used to be the kind of doing, I used to draw black and white only. But you see colors everywhere behind me.
Hey,
And
you're preaching to the
uh,
choir here, but when it comes to color, I love color.
yeah, I see that.
It,
In a dark
it's
in a dark period, it was everything about colors. I think I don't regret what happened. No one can, you cannot regret what happened in the past. The last year,
mm.
I can't say the last year was a waste of time. Yes, things got affected, work got affected, but I was able to discover myself, and I think that's a good thing.
Oh heavens, yes. I mean, if I may quote Lily Tomlin of all people, forgiveness is the giving up of all hope of a better past. So
That's true.
if you don't just accept what happened and what is. Um, I have never for one moment regretted the time that I wasn't, well, I don't know. I've never regretted a moment in time of whatever I was doing because my mantra was always, if it's not fun, then why am I doing it?
I
And
agree.
and I've been very blessed, and also I've worked damn hard to put myself in a position to create options for myself, as you have. And I think if I might say to younger people, I mean, I'm not saying give up on your dreams of being an artist, but what I am saying is create other options for yourself that are viable as well, because options create freedom. And it's not so much for myself that success, I mean, failure is an option, but it is a possibility. So as long as you don't consider it an option and that it's up for grabs, you will never fail because you will never reach that point in your life. Would you agree? In
I
terms
do
of,
agree, and I think if you reach one day rock bottom, you learn from it, and you're gonna get up again, and
well, it's
and
funny you mentioned
because
that.
we
Yes. Go ahead.
yeah, because we all went through this. Like if someone tells you life was beautiful and it was sunny all the time, and it's not true. Yeah, we all have our ups and downs.
Absolutely.
The curve keeps going up and down.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, if I may put it back in terms of what you were saying, you always drew in black and white until you discovered color. Well, I would dare say, going back to black and white, you might have a greater appreciation for it in a way that you didn't have before because of your experience with color, and vice
True.
versa, the discovery of color. I mean, for me as a stylist, black is all about shading because, and I try and stay away from white because there are no two whites alike, and one white beside another white looks dirty,
True. True. True.
if it doesn't have that intensity, and so. I don't style much in white, all in white anyway. Sorry, all those brides out there.
And from one medium, and as you said, from one medium to another, the same color looks different.
Absolutely, absolutely, and
Yeah.
um, I have this ability. I guess I would liken it to perfect pitch in singers or musicians. I have perfect color retention, so that if I
Okay.
needed to go out and find a color of green of your hair, I wouldn't need to bring you along with me, Motaz. I could do that. Because I see it. How do you see color? What does color mean to you? I know that's a bit of a philosophical question, but you hinted at it about how it changes your demeanor, your mood. Like I don't know how.
No,
I guess I would just leave the question at that and let you interpret it. How do
no,
you
I
see color?
totally I agree with you that it depends on the mood when I'm drawing, of what color I find myself using. And it's not that I'm deciding I'm going to use red, green, orange. It's actually when I'm drawing or when I'm painting or I'm even creating something on the computer. You people usually ask me, is it planned? And it's never planned. For me, it's how the mood takes me. You know what I mean? Like as Picasso used to say, if
Uh,
I don't have red, I use blue. It's like this. So
Well, you mentioned Cubism earlier, and of course, Picasso came to mind, and I say the same thing. Like, I don't plan what I'm going to wear the night before, because you never know what's going to happen between the time you go to bed and the time you wake up. So I wait till I get up to see how I feel, and I dress accordingly. I know not everybody has that luxury, but there is an ounce of truth in that. It brings you into a sense of who you are at that moment in time in your life. It puts you into the present moment when you make those kinds of intentional decisions. Just the way, I know I talk a lot about dressing with intention. Even though you don't have a plan artistically in terms of what you might create that day, there is a sense, there's a definite intentionality to it in terms of sitting down or standing up or going wherever you want to do your work and work. And just let it come.
You're creating a statement, and that statement is based on now.
Exactly. So tell me, what are some of your more interesting nows in some of the work that you've done, in terms of when you look at it, like looking at a picture of yourself when you're a child, and you go, I was a cute kid, or, was my hair really that long, or that kind of thing. So tell us, what are some of the moments in your life, in your art, when you look at it, and is there any piece that you just don't want to look at, or is there any piece that you can't take your eyes off of?
There is always something that, again, I have a friend that one day told me, I'm sure that everything you do has something behind it. And so I used to in the beginning tell him, oh no, I just drove from my mind. But then you realize when you look back at it and you say, actually, when I created this, I had an argument that day with a certain person. When I created this, I had this thing happening. And now looking at things back, you just realize, as much as it's cubism and the eyes are up, the nose are here, and you know how it is, but I realized that every piece has a story, and it's my story. It doesn't mean that you have to see it, but it is true that everything for me has, and of course you have your favorite, you have ones that were created in a time that you were down, ones were created in a period that you were very happy. And this is, for me, I think it's hard to explain to people your story, but sometimes you just have to let them figure it out.
Absolutely. James Baldwin, the activist and poet and writer, wrote that art has to be a kind of confession. Would you agree with that? There's a kind of sense of, just putting the truth out there, and like you said, your first response, or your initial response to your friend who mentioned the fact that he or she was noticing something about your art as telling a story, and you just said, no, I just drew it because that's what, and then you realized there was a story, and that's why I like art, because I feel it's true, and I feel it's real and honest, because I have a very, I would say, a modest collection of Canadian art. I love living with it. I look at it, and it just brings me back to times when I bought it and what was going on in my life at that time. It's a real marker. Some people get tattoos, and that's fine. I buy art. And speaking of art, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, I'm just agreeing with what you're saying.
Well, I was wondering how. So do you have any samples of your shoes in particular? Because I think that might be the easiest to show people. Because I find, yes, and I'm wondering if, can you bring them over so we can see them a little closer, and because I really want people to understand what goes into what you're doing here, and I just think your company, Lines and Tones, are
yes.
It really, I love that. I love it because it really does. You really are drawing the lines, in a very metaphorical way, but also in a very real way.
The thing is, when I was looking for a name for a company, of course, I did a lot of research, and you know how when you're doing something for someone, it's easy to, when it's yours, it can take a year for you to realize what the best thing. And I was looking for, I took the dictionary and I was looking for the definition of art or design, and one of the sentences said the lines and tones. And this is it. I was like, this is what I'm doing. I'm creating tones of colors, and it's all about lines.
It's funny you say that, going to the dictionary. That is, I never write anything without a dictionary beside me, or in my case, hey Google, what's the? Sorry, I don't mean to say that. My phone might do something that I don't want it to do. But hey, so and so, what does this mean? And then I start there, and very often in my writing, I will present. Identify a specific person or thing. Hey Google, stop. Anyway, what I was just saying though is that it really creates a sense of direction when you have a word or two that you can that resonates with you, because then that leads to another word, that leads to an image, that leads to a whole concept, that leads to whatever. Sure. And I'm sure in your corporate world that's what you learned as well, that you listened to the client, you took notes, and lo and behold, wow, there you go. And so the client says, well, how did you know all about that? So let's talk about your art, your work. So this is, I got a lot of responses from. I love it. Oh, I love those.
So this is my style of drawing. And this is a boot that I created for myself. Actually, 1 second. I need to get the other phone to show you.
Sure. Absolutely. Take your time. Take your time.
So that's the one here.
And what medium do you work in? Is that a marker?
No. This was actually, I was in Toronto a couple of years ago visiting. I decided to look for some classes, and I found a class I used to draw on shoes, but sometimes, I didn't get the right technique, the right colors, and I found a class that actually I went to it's supposed to be for 2 hours, and they were very grateful that they are very decent. They actually let me there for like 5 hours sitting, because I knew what I was doing. I just wanted to learn the technique. And they told me which colors, how to do it, how to make sure it stays. And I just took what I learned and I just turned it into what I'm doing. I'll show you the shoe that I did there in Toronto.
Absolutely. Thank you.
That's the one.
Oh, I love that. Now, do you do commission work?
I do, but the problem with shoes is you cannot stock it.
No.
And,
no, absolutely.
What I do is if anyone's interested in shoes, either they bring it over and I'll start drawing on it, or if they give me a size, like the ones I do, everyone's like, okay, I want it. How much? It's size 12. It's not a lot of customers would take that one. But this is the one I did for ladies.
Okay. Oh, I wear that. I would wear that too, though. I like the colors. I like the colors.
Yeah, the colors came out very. And as you see, I always go with the different tones, lines and tones, as you see.
Yes, exactly.
And, and I never do the pair the same. They're always different, as you can see.
Which is what makes them, which makes them unique. Absolutely, it's a work of art, like any work of art. Right.
Yeah, for this one as well, it was with a marker. I changed the laces to make them yellow to fit with the color on the logo, and it's, as you said as well, it's styling as well. It's not just about the drawings. It's the whole
precisely. And it's funny because I very often will buy a women's boot only because it is narrower and I like the profile of it better, because men's are much heavier, clunkier looking, and on my height that just doesn't work. I mean, anyway, but that's just a bit of where I'm coming from as well, where for me styling is just, there's no gender to it in terms of colors or whatever, because I find that certain colors, I guess I just respond to color in such a way that I don't have that concept of dividing them into whatever. And actually, a lot of designers in the world, it's a real movement now since COVID, that they're not just since COVID, but I think it's increased in momentum. Certainly, this attitude of a gender fluid kind of approach to design and styling, for sure. I know in my work with some of the some celebrities that they are requesting that kind of gender neutral approach, or gender fluid anyway. For a whole bunch of reasons. It opens, again, the more options you have from a stylistic point of view, you know, the more freedom you have. And so my question to you is, do you always work in on the same makeup boot, so that because you know the leather that they use and all of that, or do you use other makes and brands of shoes and boots?
No, I do mix. Different sneakers, boots, anything. The only thing is, I try the ones that give me more space to draw, because sometimes you get these sneakers with a very small area to work with.
Right,
but
that's true.
You know, your work won't stand out. It's challenging. You can do something with some mixing of colors and some lines, but with boots, because this one I just created it for myself. And I was traveling, I was going to UK, and I said, you know what? That's the best way to try it. It's always raining there. I'm gonna see the quality of my drawing and my paint, and
right.
I can see it. People are looking at it. People were, even from getting on the plane, people were asking me, "Oh, these Doc Martens, where did you get them from?" And I was like, "I created them," and I was giving my card. It's a statement. That was it.
Oh, and, well, bravo.
But that was the thing.
So how would people get a hold of you? I mean, and if there's a listener here who wants to get a hold of you, even just to talk to you further about a possible project or whatever, how do they do that?
Again, from Instagram, that's, I think, the easiest way.
So it's Lines and Tones, just the way it's spelled.
At Lines and Tones.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, you've heard that. It's at Lines and Tones. And Motaz, the founder and chief cook and bottle washer, eh? You know what they say, you want to work hard, you work for yourself, right? If you want to work hard, you work for yourself.
That's the thing, for sure. It's actually it's tougher working for yourself than for someone else.
It is, you know, and again, it's that whole reinvention process, because inevitably, if you really take it further, the reinvention process could take it from a process into a career, into a lifestyle, into what you do for a living, you know, two perfect examples right here. And so there is an element of practicality in the sense of being a creative and being creative in terms of having to come up with ideas and such, or writing ideas, or, you know, putting yourself out there and explaining things. There is an element of pulling or taking some part of your other experience, like, again, your corporate work, or my work in the classroom, and other corporate ventures that I've done. It's all what makes who you are, and it's the package. So how are you? I mean, getting on a plane and people asking you about your shoes is one way of marketing. What do you find is the best way to market in this climate?
That's the thing I wanted to as well say, that I found myself, it's easier for me to market people than to market myself. And I think that came from my work experience and the way I am. When someone comes, I have friends who are creative, and I find myself, it comes very easy to find ideas to push them. But when you're the worst critic for yourself. That's the problem.
Absolutely.
I always tell myself, it can be better. You know what? It's not finished. Maybe it's ready to go. And this is an issue as well I have with my wife, because she believes that I should be doing this. This should be a business. It's not just a hobby. You should be. You should focus. You should do this. I totally understand. But as an artist, I always feel unfinished, and that's a problem.
Well, but you are. So get over it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're never going to be finished, because I'll tell you when you're going to be finished. You're not going to like the answer, but you know what I'm saying?
When you're dead.
Exactly. Well, listen, you are twice blessed, not only to be creative, but to have a wife who recognizes that. That's because that's a real conundrum. I mean, I remember when I was teaching the first time, and I was very young, and I never intended to stick with teaching because I wanted to sing professionally.
Okay.
And so, how did your family sort of respond to this new Motaz coming out on a more regular basis, so to speak, where you were starting to be taking yourself seriously, and then others started taking yourself seriously? Talk to that about that transition.
So in the beginning, actually, if I go back to way back, I remember my family when I wanted to study art, everyone was like, no, you should be business, it should be engineering, this. And no one kind of understood art was about sitting in the street painting and selling it for $1 or $2, but that wasn't the way. But when I started doing it and they started seeing how things are different, I even saw how people actually, their support was different. Going now further to where we are right now, I'm blessed that family-wise, they're supporting, they're always appreciating what I do. And I was saying, the wife, she, as much as she loves what I'm doing, but she wants me to do something with it.
But you are. I mean, you are doing.
I am, but what I try to explain is sometimes it takes time because a
lot of time.
You need to promote yourself as an artist before you start selling your stuff. People need to know who you are.
Absolutely.
This is the part which I was missing, and I was doing it wrong. Again, I'm blessed with friends who are supporting, motivating me, and helping, coming and seeing what you're doing, excited to see what's next, posting and the reposting and sending all this stuff. I have a very close friend of mine. She's creative. We go to art classes, like we do our art therapy together. We feed on each other's positive vibe. And you know what? I realized that this is the most important thing, is just getting a challenge and feeling challenged. It makes you have to feel incomplete. But I always had an issue of hiding. I was always afraid to come out and show myself in a way of who I am and what I'm doing. And if you saw the video that I had on my Instagram, which is my promo video that you have used, this was the photographer, which is Reggie, a guy I met here. And he told me, he was like, people need to see who's behind the art. And this is, he created.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
He said, you have your hair, you have your style. I'm always with my bow tie. He said, people need to see you and know who's behind these pictures, who's behind these drawings, who's behind these shoes. And this is what, it's been 2 months. This is the first time you'll see me on my Instagram. Actually, I'm promoting myself. And to be honest with you, I found actually people liking that, because now they know it's not just the brush, it's who's holding the brush. It's not the pen, who's holding that pen.
And it's also the quality of the work of the artist, that your work matches, or I should say, the promotional work that you had, the video matches your quality of work. Like, I was blown away when I first saw it, and that's why I decided to use it in the promos and just cut it up into segments, because visually,
and if you believe
he was spot on. He was very good.
And believe it or not, he created that video in 1 day. We went to a location, and then next day in the morning, he sent me the video. He's a very talented guy, and he wants to grow, and we kind of collaborated together. I was doing.
And tell the listeners again what his name is. Just this is all what it's about. My platform is your platform.
I can't remember his full Instagram name, but his name is Reggie. And if you see the video,
okay. Well, you know what? If people want to go, yes, and people will see it, yes. And also on my Instagram, I gave him credit for the video that he did,
yes,
so people can find it that way. So
appreciated it. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
I found the support that you get from people around you. It does motivate you, and it actually makes you. The doubts that you have in your mind, it actually sometimes, as an artist, you always need this little bit of credit that people like what you do. Because you know how
I know.
Art is you would like it, another person. I used to fight with my teacher and tell them,
tell us about that.
Hey, why are you giving me a
Oh, you're one of those. I know that type.
but you know what I mean, because in the end of the day, it's taste. It is taste. But again, they were. It's about the
Well,
school. It's about the
it is
technique.
taste,
It's
but
more
it
about.
is taste. But you're blessed with good taste. There are a lot of people who are not blessed with good taste. So
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
let's make that very. I mean, well, let's put it this way: you're not sitting here for nothing. I'm not talking to you on this.
I do appreciate
But I also think I think the main thing for me was I think the fact that it isn't about money. I mean, to a certain extent it is, but it is. I mean, you want to be able to live, of course, but you had a very well-paying job, and you were you were successful at it, and a lot of people can't understand why you would give that up, so to speak. I'm not necessarily just you, but why anyone would give that up, and there's a lot more to it, and it all comes down to being fulfilled as a person, and it's a selfish process.
Yes. The thing is, if you don't do it now, you're not going to do it ever. That's what I realized. Like, if I
Well,
step out and start showing people who I am,
exactly.
no one will know me, and everything I'm doing is going to be put in a storage and full stop, and I'll just go back and sit on a desk. And I think what
Right.
happened this year with this pandemic and the lockdown gave us the chance to realize that, you know what, we can live with less. We can survive with the people that you trust around you, the small group, the circle that around you. You're happy with it. And it gives you a chance to know who you are, discover yourself. And
Right.
again, when people complain about the lockdown, I just say, yes, I lost a lot of work from events. Events used to be a decent job because you do a couple of events, 3-4 events a year, and it's good. We had 0 events. But I won't sit and cry. I started growing, and and this for me was worth more than the money that came in. I'm paying my bills. I'm happy with that. But you know what? The curve will go back up. But I took this year as a positive year, not as a negative year at all.
Absolutely. Now, your type of work, how is it received generally within the Dubai community? Is there a subgroup of people or target market there that you would necessarily go after? What's the artistic life like in Dubai?
Believe it or not, Dubai is growing toward when it comes to they're growing significantly. Again, as I was telling you, I was away from it because I was focusing on the customers and all the stuff. This period
Right.
now gave me a chance to as I was just saying, we went to a few classes in the last couple of months, and we started meeting teachers. And teachers, they go to exhibitions, and I was just asked for one of them to. She said, "We have an exhibition in April. If there's space, do you want to join us?" Because she wants to show my stuff. And I realized that why am I not a part of this society? Why am I not? If people like it, it's again going back to credit. We always like when you see. You realize that the stuff that is hiding in your house, people actually like it. Then why am I not putting it out there?
I know. I have mannequins in my home that I style, and I just throw things on them. Just like I'll put something on them, and and I'll have people come in from time to time, and they go, "Oh, I really like that." And I'm thinking, I haven't even started. It's. And I'm always surprised at people's reaction to my work. A positive surprise. I mean, a positive reaction, and I'm very grateful for that. And so it's if people will lie down because you tell them they're sick enough times. Why is it we can't, as artists, believe people when they tell us we're good? You know what I'm saying? What is it? What is that? We sort of hinted at it. Again, I think it comes back to that confession, as art is a confession. I mean, you're pouring your heart and soul on those boots that you created. And obviously enough for other people getting on a plane to go somewhere recognize that. And so
saying what you just said right now about I went to a class called color therapy. So
color therapy, yeah.
There and just coloring, and I met this teacher, and she's a Spanish lady, and it was a very interesting story. And what, yeah, and I just realized how art is one of the stuff that you actually use your mind physically and mentally, because you're using your brain to focus on what you're doing, and actually physically you're, and it's an activity, and people don't get that. It's not just sitting down and wasting time. It's actually a full
No.
body activity.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's not for naught at the end of the day that I'm tired if I've been writing all day, if I've been creating and I'm on a roll and I don't want to stop. I mean, I won't have lunch, I won't have dinner, I'll just keep writing. I usually write in the mornings when my brain is the freshest with thoughts. But anytime that you are engaged in what you are doing artistically, it's a lot of work. And then then when you start becoming a little more commercialized in terms of your broadening your market base, if you will, that's when you have to really start to, I think, monitor your time in terms of keeping it fresh. That's what I'm trying to say. So how do you keep your ideas fresh when you have other commitments? Obviously, you're married, you have a wife, and family stuff. And do you have any family living nearby you as well, or no?
No, not in Dubai. It's just
not in Dubai. Okay.
Misses and
okay.
Friends.
Yes. Okay.
But the thing is, it is, as you mentioned, it is tough because once you get into your bubble, it could sit for hours. Nothing else
yeah.
is done.
Yes.
And for some people, they think it's a waste of time, but for us, it's a productive day. It's different, but yes, it is a challenge. And you have these days which you sit in front of the canvas or a white piece of paper and nothing comes out.
Or if there's
not what you expect.
Exactly. I know. I get scared at those moments, and I think everybody does, because it's sort of like, oh no, I've run out of milk, or what do I do now? Like,
yes. I'm done. No, but the thing is, as we started discussing before, I started doing a little bit of clothing, skirts, dresses, and then I found myself. I thought.
Have you thought about doing scarves?
Actually,
scarves? Silk scarves?
Next time I'm in Toronto, I'll get you something.
Okay, everybody, you heard him say that. Motaz, I want to know what your zodiac sign is. What is your zodiac sign?
I'm a Virgo.
You have Virgo. I know that one. Okay, so this is just something I do with my guests. Virgo.
Okay.
Okay, so Mr. Virgo, I'm going to read some stuff, and I want you to tell me if you agree with it. August 24th to September 23rd, Virgo. Okay. Butter wouldn't melt in your mouth, yes or no?
Butter won't melt in my mouth?
Yes or no? I'm not sure what they mean by that. Okay, well, butter wouldn't melt in your mouth. That is an expression. What does that mean? Does anybody know what butter wouldn't melt in your mouth means? I should know it. Okay, let's continue. You are prim and proper.
Yes.
Yeah, you are. I can tell. I mean, but there's a rebel getting out. There's a rebel in you that's getting out. Would you agree? There's a bit of a rebel.
But that rebel has been always there. I think it just needed a channel.
Exactly.
The art lately. Yes. That's
okay.
For sure.
Oh, you're a real dreamboat and a sweetheart. Well, we should be asking your wife this one. Anyway, although first impressions can often be misleading, they're not in this case. So, okay. Your smile wins favors and melts the coldest. Go ahead. What? Go ahead.
To reply to what you just said right now, because I just got a comment from this place that I went to, and a lady or a teacher, she called me El Magneto, and I was like, why? She said, because your energy is attracting people, and that's a good thing. And,
exactly.
Yeah. And
okay. Did you have a hat on, or did you have your hair showing?
No,
because
it's the way I am, as you see.
yeah, it's the way you are. I know. Listen,
Yes,
I understand that. Happy people make people happy, Motaz. You know that.
I
Happy people
understand.
make people happy.
That's true.
And I'm not surprised. I mean, I don't know what's the distance between Toronto and Dubai. I mean, but I can feel it. I can feel your happiness and your energy coming
Yes,
through.
yes.
And
You
and
know,
very
you know what?
often,
An hour ago before we started, I was, of course, I was a bit tired, but now going through it, I just feel like I've been up for. I had a decent sleep. I'm up. It's always as well when you have a decent conversation. I remember reading something that said a good conversation is like a strong cup of coffee. It's stimulating and it's hard to sleep after. And
well,
it is true. Like,
and I understand that the coffee in Dubai can get quite strong.
well, the second one's not
I
that
have
strong.
not. um, so let me see. Let me see. Okay.
What else you've got there?
Let's see. It says here, you're sensible. You have a sensible approach to life, and you don't mess around or suffer fools gladly.
Okay. All right.
Do you agree with that? Do you agree with that? Okay, that would be your corporate background too. Do you find? As I mentioned earlier about James Baldwin saying art is a form of confession, but do you find sometimes you're apologizing for your art? Do you ever find that, or that you're not making excuses, you're just apologizing? Is there any?
I understand where you're coming from. It's true. Like, you know what? When sometimes you, like, example, when I tried to do a portrait for someone. I don't draw people the way they are. I draw it the way I see it. Um, and I always, when you're done with it, you're I'm apologizing before even getting people's opinion. It's kind of before it because in my mind I have a feeling they won't like it. They will think it's you're looking at them in a different way. But it's just the small little devil sitting in your head, kind of telling you that.
That's a good way of putting it. A small little devil. You're right. But you know, if the angels speak and you think it's just an extension of yourself, that devil's an extension of yourself as well. You know.
No, because the angel most of the time is when the customer or the friend or someone walks in and just give you a simple word saying, "I love it, beautiful, amazing." It's just this small word makes all these sentences that have been running in your head disappear.
I like the word impeccable myself. I like to hear the word impeccable. Well, Motaz, I have been following you now for a few months, and I have to say that if anybody wants to, to watch an artist in action, please follow Lines and Tones, Motaz Khalil. I love your last name, even though I misspelled it. I thought, oh my God, I misspelled his last name on a promo. I thought that to me is inexcusable. But Khalil is that how you pronounce your surname? Khalil? Khalil?
It's Khalil. Khalil.
Oh, Khalil. Okay. Well,
Khalil, but you can say Khalil.
Khalil. I say Khalil. You say it much better. You say it much better.
I hope so.
And we have a few minutes left, about 2 minutes left. This time has gone very quickly.
I know.
Do you have any special projects coming up? Like, do you have a particular project that you're wanting to undertake that we can be looking forward to?
I started recently learning how to do resin and epoxy, and soon my target is to create a table or something like that. Follow. Look, you'll see. I do my own photography in my own studio. I do everything from scratch. That's why it takes time. But some new stuff is coming up soon, hopefully. And you're one of my biggest fans, and you'll see the stuff. And I always love to hear your comments.
Thank you.
It's always good to hear from other creative people because that's where we feed on. This is how
Well,
we
and I would like
we
to
have
use
this.
some of your stuff in some of my styling. I've got a number of projects coming up for styling projects that for publication, and it's all about helping each other. And I think what I learned in this COVID, the lockdown, the first time was we're not, we're more alike than we are different. As a humankind, we are more alike than we are different. And I would like to think, we can embrace that, because I think there's a real need for that in the world. And it's interesting that artists, singers, performers, actors were the hardest hit, some of the hardest hit in these lockdowns, and yet everyone is turning to them for comfort. So,
yes. Last thing I would like to say that
absolutely,
I believe every person, every single one of us who believes he's not creative, he is creative, but it is in his way. It doesn't have to be on a canvas. It could be from cooking, it could be from styling, it could be from gardening. I realized this pandemic that everyone discovered himself in his way. And that's what I always tell people. You cannot say I'm not creative. You are creative, but in your way.
I can assure you I would not discover myself cooking, because I don't cook. I eat well, but I don't cook. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Motaz Khalil of Lines and Tones, all the way from Dubai. God bless you for getting up so early. And ladies and gentlemen, this is JP Michaels reporting to you live from the Academy of Enlightenment, where the faithfully fashionable come to learn that without faith in yourself, you don't have a chance to heaven, and without style, you don't have a chance in hell. Bye-bye. Motaz, thank you. Namaste.
Yes, thank you very much.
All the best. Ciao. Ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you. Bye-bye.
come again. Bye-bye.